and welcome to Sasquatch Says. I am your host, Dan Wetstein. Unfortunately, don't have my co-host with me again. She is out on a call. Hopefully, if she gets back in time, she'll jump in. But unfortunately, not here right now. Well, we'll keep pushing through like we always do. I do apologize again for last week. I was definitely under the weather. I had no voice whatsoever. Like I could barely even get out a whisper. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to run the show, all of those good things. That's why we didn't have a show last week. But we are here back this week to talk about your Avalanche and their dominance. It has been an absolute joy to watch this team play this entire playoffs. They have now only lost 2 games in 3 rounds. They have been utterly dominant, but the most dominant of them all has been the man we keep touting as one of the best players in the league and definitely the best defenseman, bar none. I don't care who you bring up anymore. It used to be neck and neck with Josie. I don't want to hear it anymore. Cale Makar is a man amongst boys. He had 5 points on 40 shifts in 29 plus minutes of ice time in game 4 and was absolutely essential. The man did everything from end to end. He is a goal to goal player. He plays offense, he plays defense, he steals, he takes the puck away, he passes with unbelievable accuracy. He's just too big and strong for most guys to handle. The way he can move on the ice from edge to edge, the fake outs that he gives, it looks like a running back out there on the ice. It's like Barry Sanders on ice, is what it's like. It's absolutely insane to watch this man play. He is the most crucial piece right next to Nathan MacKinnon. Those guys are 1A, 1B when it comes to the face of the franchise at this point, and it's deserved on both counts. I mean, it was absolutely a molly-whopping when it came to game 4. Uh, I know it turned out to be a little bit close, but did not matter what Edmonton did. Colorado always had an answer. That had to be probably the most frustrating game, not only for the fans, but for the players of Edmonton. It seemed like every single time they had the momentum going in their direction, Nathan MacKinnon, Cale Makar, or Gabe Landeskog would just do something otherworldly that only those 3 humans could possibly do on the ice and take that momentum right back. It never lasted long. There was never really a moment that I was just like, this game is over. I mean, you can even go back and check my Twitter and see the receipts. There was constantly, you know what? We're down, but it doesn't matter. The level of talent that the Avalanche have as opposed to every other team they have faced so far, it's not even fair. It's really, really not. St. Louis gave them everything that they had. Nashville gave them everything they had, and Edmonton gave them absolutely everything they had, including turning into one of the dirtiest teams I've ever seen. But yet they could not shake this Avalanche team. The Avalanche were out hit. This is something I know we've talked about a lot. We beat it to death essentially at this point, but it's just the reality of what it's been up until this season is that if you out hit and you out physical the Avs, they will curl up in a ball, cry, and go home with their ball. That is no longer the case. It does not matter how nasty you get, does not matter how physical you get. The Avs were out hit, and not just by 1 or 2 hits, by double digits in 3 out of the 4 games in the Western Conference Finals. So there is no doubt that Edmonton gave them everything they possibly could, and it just wasn't enough. And if that's the case, if this team can stay this still-willed, they got to win the championship. I hate to count my chickens before they hatch. Obviously, that's something that I've told all of y'all to be very, very careful in doing. But this team has me that hyped that I am ready to just be like, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Tampa or New York. Give them to us so that way we can go off and hold up the trophy. That's how excited this last series and the entire postseason has me with this team. Now, there are some warts, there are some things to worry about, but another thing I want to bring up that I absolutely love and I want to talk about more because I don't think enough people do, but Arturi Lehkonen has got to be officially the best move of the NHL season in any capacity. This man has been crucial in every single game. He has done something to help the Avalanche win. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. Sorry, thought I had it pulled up, but I don't. Bear with me just a moment. All right, so for example, game one, Lehkonen, excuse me, sorry, got something stuck in my throat there. But Arturi Lehkonen had an assist, 2 hits, 2 blocks, and a takeaway. So no, did he score a goal? No, but he was everywhere else, and that is what he does. He blocks shots. He gets takeaways. He does score. In game 4, he had 3 points and scored a goal. Game 2, he scored a goal, had an assist, had a couple blocks, had a couple takeaways. He doesn't do anything that really wows you. I guess you could say he's not really a master of a trade, but he's a jack of all of them. And he has been absolutely crucial. Him and Josh Manson probably are the biggest unsung heroes in this playoffs. From the multiple crucial clutch goals by Manson, crucial clutch goals by Lehkonen, crucial takeaways, crucial hits, crucial blocks. Lehkonen is the one that saved the Avs series when Frankie got out of the goal, was nowhere in the zip code of the goal, and Lehkonen's the one that went and put his body in front of the goal and got a save as a defenseman. So this man just does everything to the T, crosses all the T's, dots all the I's, all of those things. So if you are not paying attention to Lehkonen, you need to. The man is crucial and special in these playoffs. He might not be a greatest of all time in the ilk of a Nathan McKinnon or a Cale Makar or Gabe Landeskog or anything of that nature, but he is just that little engine that just is always crucial in runs like these. You're not always going to get 5 points from Makar or a hat trick from Kadri or a hat trick from McKinnon. You're going to need these guys. That's why I pointed out in these other games where in the first game where they scored 8 goals by 7 different players, another game where they scored 6 goals by 5 different players. It is not about the top end of this team. I know everybody wants to talk about McKinnon, Landeskog, Byram, Makar, etc. But the key to the success of the Avalanche in this playoff has been their role players. It has been Eric Johnson, Lehkonen, Manson, O'Connor, etc. All the guys you don't hear about are the ones that are making the biggest impact. And that is something they are going to need to continue as we get through these playoffs. But speaking of playoffs and possible failures, after 2 decades of unbelievable failures, a season of reminders of those failures, the Avs again have finally made it to the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time since the 2001-2002 season. So, where were you? I want all of you, anybody that's watching, tell me, where were you when the game winner went in overtime? Me, I was on the couch with my nephew, my daughter, my son, and once the goal went in, we'll just say I was no longer in the couch and I traversed the entire house because of how excited I lost my mind. This is, again, I have been here for the entire 20 years of ineptitude of this franchise since Waugh, Sakic, Forsberg, and company retired. I have had to sit here and wallow in my pity for 2 decades now. And now I finally get to see the team I grew up rooting for, the team I watched come into conception. I am that old, people. I watched the Rockies be made. I watched the Avalanche change zip codes and countries. You know, I've been through all of these things. I've seen the best and the worst of the Broncos. I am from 1985, people. There we go. I dated myself. I have been here through it all. I have seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the terrible. I've been through the amazing, and I've been through the frustrating. So it is an absolute joy to watch one of my teams get back to the penultimate moment in their sport, and it is absolutely delicious. I hope you all are enjoying it as much as I am, because I know I'm still partying like it's 1999, and you should be too. So, next up is what everybody else is talking about, which is, will the sweep be an advantage or a detriment? Um, Callie actually posted up a great meme earlier. If you haven't checked it out, go to her Twitter at Callie Agnew and check it out. And I retweeted it on at underscore the answer is 42, so you can find it there as well. But it's hilarious because it encapsulates in the entirety of Avalanche territory. Uh, they People are freaking out because it at the very least Tampa and New York is going to go 6 games. That's at the very least. So very likely it could go the full 7 games, which is kind of a double-edged sword in this case because we've seen it here in Denver specifically. I think that's why Avalanche territory is freaking out, is because the last time we had a situation like this where a team stormed through the playoffs, sweeping everybody, only to sit for a week, was the Colorado Avalanche in 2007. They swept the Diamondbacks to get out of the NLCS and get into the World Series for the first and only time the Rockies have ever made it to the World Series. This was Rocktober. For those of you that don't know the date but do know the name, this was the year of Rocktober. And what happened was, once the Rockies got back on the field, after the Boston Red Sox just had an amazing comeback, being the first team to ever come back from a 3-0 deficit in the ALCS and make it to the World Series, came in and swept the Rockies, who looked like they had just completely seized up. Like they were a bunch of machines left out in the salt water. They were just completely rusty. And so I think that you just might see a team like this, or I should say, fans are afraid of seeing another team end up like that. And, you also saw it with the Houston Astros when they lost the last World Series they were in. They swept the team, they were out for a week, and then the opposing team won. So there are some historical references, but I really think that has more to do with who the coaches were and the coaching staffs. No offense to Clint Hurdle and them, but Jared Bednar is on another level when it comes to coaching acumen in their sport. I know you might say it's apples to oranges, hockey to baseball, but when it comes to acumen within your sport, that is the best way to compare coaches when you want to go cross sports. I do believe that, without a doubt, Jared Bednar is a much bigger and more, I don't want to say intelligent, I should say informed hockey head than Clint Hurdle is as a baseball head and a baseball manager. Again, that's no slight on Clint Hurdle. I think he's a good guy. Seemed like a really good manager. I don't have anything bad to say about him. But again, when you're ranking coaches even across sports, I would have to put Jared Bednar way above Clint Hurdle because of the way that Bednar is able to react, adjust, and all of that on the fly, as he has shown throughout these playoffs. So, while, again, there are some historical references to show that being out for an extended period of time can hurt a team, can make them quote unquote rusty. In this case, I think this is a much more of a necessity for the Avalanche. And the reason for that is that even though the Avs swept Edmonton, they did not come out unscathed. Kadri is potentially out for the entire postseason after thumb surgery. Cagliano broke his hand on a blocked shot in Game 4 and also had to have hand surgery. So he has a similar time frame as Kadri. So the Avs could lose two of their biggest components to their power play, which have shown up. Yes, in Game 4, they were 100% on the power play. But if you go back and look at Game 3 or Game 2 after Kadri was knocked out, it's just no. It's bad. I don't want to. I hate trying to drag on these guys because I'm just so excited for them. I don't really have it in me to really rip them apart. But the power play was scary once Kadri left. Burakovsky and Abe Kubel are both ailing from block shots of their own in Game 4. Theirs don't look as egregious. They don't need surgery. Looks like just maybe some bone bruises or some contusions, things of that nature from them blocking shots in Game 4. So they should be back for the beginning of the Stanley Cup Finals, especially with how long it's going to take before we find out who the Avalanche are going to be playing in the finals. Because again, that other series between the New York Rangers is going at least 6. They are right now tied 2-2, which means one of the two teams still has to win 2 more games, which means we're going to at least 6. So if they split the next 2, then we know we're going 7 at the least. So we'll have to see how things go there. But I see it as much more of a helpful thing than a harmful thing because of this reason. If the Avalanche weren't so hurt and banged up, Darcy Kemper is still coming back. I know he was available as a backup on Game 4, but even no matter how much that game seemed to get out of hand, Bednar was not willing to put Kemper in there. So that should tell you that he was still not quite 100%. If he was 100% and could play, I don't see Frankie finishing Game 4. It just got ugly. So we would have seen Kemper if he was 100%. So they obviously need the time. So therefore, time off, not nearly as scary as it normally would be, because again, the Avalanche need to get healthy. I think their being healthy is more important than any worry about some quote unquote rust. So those in Avs territory that are terrified, don't be. It's actually a little bit of a blessing in disguise, because the Avalanche need this time to get back healthy and get as many bodies back on the ice as they can, so they can avoid having to call up some kid from the AHL and throw him into the Stanley Cups. Even though we've seen it happen and it's worked, it's not an ideal situation. So you want to try and make sure that with everything you got your best players out there. So the time off is going to be much more helpful than what people are wanting to admit and go on with. So speaking of Bednar and the things he can do and what needs to be done, he has stated he will possibly rethink the goalie situation. So I want to know from all of you, in the comments, wherever, just let me know. It's more about knowing your team. Ben Y, I appreciate you coming through. Rockies PTSD. I have a lot of Rockies PTSD, guys. Yes, most definitely. And yes, more about knowing your team. It's always about knowing your team and making sure you can put things in the way that you want them to and work out the way you want them to. But getting back here to the goalie situation, I would say they need to put Kemper back in goal, plain and simple. And there's many reasons why, the least of which is the fact that Kemper outpaces Frankie, not in just one category, not in just 2 categories. He outpaces him in literally every category of goaltending, period. He has more shutouts, better save percentage, goals against. You name it, the man has it on Frankie, both in the regular season, excuse me, and in the playoffs. I've talked about a number all year long. I talked about it before, that it seems the Avalanche win whenever they have a .920 save percentage or higher and an average goals against less than 3. Those 2 numbers are crucial. And guess what Kemper has? A 2.54 goals against average and a .921 save percentage. He is the starting goalie. It is without a doubt. There's no debate to have here. Yes, Frankie has the sole shutout in the playoffs. But in that game, he faced 21 shots. That was not Frankie being unbelievable. That was the defense for Colorado being unbelievable. That was Frankie just doing his job and stopping the few shots that got through. So I know a lot of people want to hang their hats on that shutout and like, oh, Frankie's great. The difference between Frankie and Kemper is Kemper does not let it get out of hand. Frankie can have those nights where he pitches a shutout and he makes a couple of great saves, but he has a tendency to let things snowball. We saw that in game 1. We saw that in game 4. In between, he was great. But game 1, he was horrible. Game 4, he looked scared. He played scared. Kemper does not do that. Even on his worst nights, even when he's given up 4 or 5 goals, he still seems to be in control in the crease. Frankie does not. Frankie's still young. Frankie's still too young to take over this job full time. I love Frankie. I think he's one of, if not the best backup goalies in the league. But that's exactly what he is at this point. Does he have the ability to be a starter? Possibly. Like I said, he shows flashes, but a starter does not show flashes. They are consistent, and that's what Kemper is. He may not be consistently great, but he is consistently good, and that is all the Avalanche need. We talked about it about a month ago when we were talking about how Grubauer went and had as many losses in one season. Had as many losses in one season in Seattle as he had in 3 years in Colorado. If that doesn't scream system made you look good, then I don't know what does. So my preference, as will be throughout the entire playoffs, I don't care what Frankie does. If Kemper is healthy, Kemper needs to be in goal. Period. There's really no other debate to have. And I am sorry, guys. I know I missed a couple comments. Again, Ben, I appreciate you. I'm sorry I didn't get to your comment until it looks like you might have left. I'm not sure who it was that was in here, but when I did say it, but I just want to say, just in case you come back and watch, I appreciate your questions. You had some good comments. And I am the only one here, so I am trying to keep up with your comments. But please understand, if I don't get to them quickly, I will get to them. It's just I am the only one here, so I am having to talk and keep up with everything all at once. So normally I'd be looking while my co-host is talking to see if there's any comments, but I don't have one. So again, I apologize. If you make a comment, I promise I will get to it. Just give me a moment. I got many screens up. I'm trying to keep track of everything. So I apologize if I miss anybody, but I will get to you as soon as possible. Just bear with me. All right. Now that's out of the way. Also, if you're here, if you come in, leave a like, leave a comment, all those things, absolutely epic. We appreciate them. They're free for you, priceless for us. So make sure you hit all the red buttons, launch all the nukes. We need to blow up everything so that way we can clear a path. But anyways, getting back to the topics at hand, I gave you my preference. I want to know yours. Who do you prefer in goal, Frankie or Kemper? Let me know. Any of the mediums, any of the platforms, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you know them, you love them. Put them there. I'll get back to you. So, moving on and talking about Stanley Cups and the finals and insanity that's happening. The most expensive ticket at Ball Arena right now is over $10,000 on the secondary market. So my question is to y'all, is that shocking? That the cheapest ticket, the farthest nosebleed seat that you can get is $1,000 just to walk in the door and say I was there. That's insane for hockey, guys. I know my nephew goes to several hockey and basketball games and baseball games every year because they're cheap. Because he can usually get really good seats for somewhere between 20 and 40 bucks. So where he usually sits is when it's a Nuggets game, he sits behind one of the baskets about 10 rows back on the first level. Usually pay somewhere between 40 and $60, depending upon who the opponent is. And those seats right now are going for almost $7,000. That just tells you the insanity of the corporate culture that has been fostered for these events. They are no longer just elite events for athletes. They are elite events for humans because only elite bank accounts can handle paying for these tickets. Even hockey. Like I was hoping, I didn't expect it to be cheap. Like obviously you're not going to be paying less than $100 or even $200 for a playoff ticket. But 10 grand for a hockey ticket is insane. I mean, yes, when you look at it comparatively to like the Super Bowl, that's a drop in the bucket because that $10,000 ticket is 2 seats behind the glass. So it's about as close as you can get without being on the ice. So, yeah, I mean, with the Super Bowl, 10 grand gets you in the nosebleeds. But this is hockey, y'all. This is insane. Would y'all do that? Would y'all pay that much? Would y'all sit there and fork over that much money just to go see a hockey game? Let me know. I can't do it. That's one of the reasons why I got into this business because man, I ain't paying them prices. Y'all gonna let me into the Super Bowl for free. It's just a matter of time before it happens. Y'all gonna let me into the Stanley Cup Finals for free to cover them things, man. I am not paying these prices. Y'all are out your ever loving mind if y'all think that I, with my cheap self, is gonna pay these prices. But I want to know, would you fork out this money if you had the money? Okay. I'm not asking you like, oh, would you go and sell your house to get some tickets? No, nobody wants to do that, and you're a complete idiot if you do. What I'm asking is, if you had the money, would you? Because even if I had the money, nah, man, I'm too cheap for that. That's insane. But speaking of things we want to see and want to do, is we want to know who are the Avalanche going to play. As we stated earlier, Rangers and Lightning will go at least 6 in their series. They're tied 2-2. After the Rangers took a 2-0 lead, they allowed Tampa Bay to come roaring back. As we stated earlier, will it hurt or help the Avs? But how about, will this hurt or help the Lightning or Rangers if they get through? And this is another one of those. I mean, you could say that I might be playing the fence, but it's the truth. It depends. If they end up getting a bunch of their stars hurt because they play a bunch of extra games, then it's a bad thing. If they're able to go through, gain momentum, keep everybody healthy, then it could be a positive. They get to go in, riding a high against the best team in the league. Otherwise, they're coming in limping, which could be a detriment. So, again, it's just going to depend. If the Lightning or Rangers can get through it in 6 or 7 games without having some major injury to one of their major stars, it could be a bonus for them. It could be a boon. But they end up with a game of attrition and can't get through unscathed, then the Avalanche will have an advantage. So, as morbid as it sounds, you want it to be a detriment, hope that their players go down. I never want to wish ill on a player, but hey, when we're talking about my teams, things go up in the air, right? So, with that being said, who is the better matchup? To me, it's the Rangers. Not any disrespect to the Rangers, but they don't scare me. There's nobody that really terrifies me. The only thing the Rangers have over the Avalanche when it comes to talent is goaltending. That is literally the only thing that they have on the Avalanche, which could be a huge thing, especially if their goaltender can stand on his head for 4 games and shut down this insane offense that the Avalanche have, which I just don't see happening. I'm just saying it right now. Nobody's shutting down. Nobody's putting Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar in the corner. It's just, nobody's putting baby in the corner. It's just not happening. So, that being the case, the Rangers don't scare me. The Lightning, on the other hand, they've been there. They've done that. They've won the last 2 Stanley Cups. regardless of whether or not they may have more talent or not, they've done it. They know what it takes. This Avalanche team, almost nobody on this team outside of Helm and maybe one or two others that I can't think of off the top of my head have ever made it to a Stanley Cup final. For almost every person on this roster for the Avalanche, this is a whole new frontier. They've never been here. They have no idea what to expect, and that can be scary. But I do believe that there is enough veteran leadership that the guys like Darren Helm will be able to settle these youngsters down. And Nathan MacKinnon has a laser focus. Ever since that infamous quote where he said, "Man, I've been in this league for how long and I ain't won shit." Since that moment, he has been a different man. He's been a different animal. It's insane to watch how he just will take over a game whenever it's necessary. He might not take over the game the entire, from first period to third period, but whenever he is needed, whenever it is needed most, Nathan MacKinnon becomes Superman and just does something that no other human could ever possibly do. He's just that special. And so, with all of those guys being there, the Lightning have a bit of they can strike some fear in you because of that simple fact that they do have stars. They do have a legitimate elite goalie, and they've been there, done that. And it's essentially the same team that's won the last two Stanley Cups. So to sit here and just be ignorant and be like, "Oh, the Lightning, they're getting weak and they're getting old," and no, man. No. Don't ever underestimate old man strength. Like, y'all can call them old, y'all can call them long in the tooth, whatever you might want to do, but old man strength is real, and the Lightning have it in droves. So if it ends up being the Lightning, it's a little bit more of a test. I still believe the Avalanche are a better team, and I still believe they can win it, but the Lightning give me pause. The Rangers, it's just like they're just a bunch of young kids too. None of them really know what they're doing. There's no real veteran leadership that's been there, done that. There's a couple guys here and there scattered throughout, kind of like the Avalanche, but that's why I like them more. They don't have the experience of Tampa Bay. They don't have the elite goaltending of Tampa Bay and the elite offense of a Tampa Bay. They have a very good goalie. They have very good offense, very good defensemen, but they are not on the level of Tampa Bay or Colorado. So I would much rather see New York in the Stanley Cup Finals than Tampa Bay. But either way, Avalanche have home ice advantage. So they need to take care of that. They need to take advantage of that. And I think they will. And I think this is going to be an absolutely epic Stanley Cup Finals. So make sure y'all tune in. Double make sure I don't have any missed comments. Nope. Nobody else is here. So we will go ahead and end it here, guys. I do appreciate those that came through, left some love. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. All of the links again down in the description. You don't have to search for us. Just click on the link, click the follow, click the little bell icon so that way you get notified every time we go live. So that way you don't miss any of these or any of our other content. Do stick around. Let's see, what time is it? We are an hour away from Breaking Broncos. So here in an hour, I will be back with my guy Dylan. I will definitely have a co-host in an hour. So check back here at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, and check us out for some Broncos content. We got a lot of stuff to talk about there. And again, you'll get to hear more than just my annoying voice. So as always, for the Answers 42 Media Network, I am your host, Dan Wetstein. Unfortunately, again, Callie's not here, but we're going to get through. We're going to keep pushing. We appreciate you, Callie. Don't feel bad. We completely understand you got toes and lives to save. So we don't worry about you here. We just worry about you being safe. So make sure you get back to the station safely and keep doing all the great things that this country needs you to do to keep it running. We need you EMS people. Y'all make things a whole lot easier on so many people. And with all the people that have ailments in my family, y'all have saved more than one life just in my family. So we appreciate y'all. Thank you all for being the essential employees that you are and doing your job so selflessly. But I think that's a good place to end it. The answer is 42. Don't question the blue.